Shalom. It's Mayor Weinstein from Israel Now. I'm joined with Mayor Jolowitz, Mideast expert. We're going to be discussing tonight the war against Iran, the implications, what it means, what needs to be done, how it's going, how it's affecting everything in the Middle East right now. Just give me a moment for everybody to tune on. Let me just make sure everything is happening here. One quick second. Second. Just want to make sure all the connections are there. One second, we'll be with you in just a moment. Just put it up here. Okay, we're on. Good evening, everyone. Whoever is going to be watching, we'd appreciate it if you would share this on whatever platform you use, be it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media platform you use. We'd appreciate it. We got to get this information out there. Mayor, how are you? Right now, we're not even a week into this war, and there's incredible successes from Israel and the United States. Khomeini is dead. This coincides with Purim. Jews all over the world are celebrating his death because he would wake up in the morning and the first thing he would think about, how do I destroy Israel? How do I murder all the Jews in the world? In fact, there's leaders in Iran that have made fatwas in the past couple of days saying to kill all the Zionists everywhere, kill all the Jews. But this war goes on right now. The Kurds are getting involved now. Mayor, how do you analyze what's going on?
Allow me, by way of introduction.
Yes.
First of all, it's a pleasure to be speaking to you a day and 2 days after Purim. And I'm going to have to explain the uniform that I'm wearing. And as the people out there know, it's a very celebratory time in the Jewish world. Purim has always been the holiday, the festive day in the year where we celebrate the fact that we defeated the enemies, those who tried to destroy us. And they happen to be the same ones. We're talking about Persia. So this is the outfit that I wore during Purim. When I went to celebrate Purim, someone asked me what this is. And I said, it's, if you notice, I look like a tourist. And the reason is because I'm anxious to visit as a tourist all the ruins of Tehran. I'm looking forward to visiting Tehran and have the tour guides and say, this is where Khomeini died, and this is where he died, and this is where they died, and that's what I'm looking forward to. But anyhow, let me get back.
Absolutely.
I realize these are only 15 to 20-minute segments, so I'm going to do this very quickly.
Yes.
These are glorious times. And the only thing, there's a cautionary note usually in all the things that we talk about, because you and I because we recognize realpolitik. Realpolitik is that sometimes things don't work out the way that they ought to, the way that we want them to, because not everybody has the resolve or the resilience to fight the fight the way that it needs to be fought. Let me just say this. Donald Trump, and I've certainly criticized him when he needed to be criticized. I think it was only a session or 2 sessions ago with you that I mentioned that this whole notion of board of peace was this nonsensical idiocy, presupposing that you could somehow find peace with those who want to kill you, who believe in genocide.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, when we need to celebrate, I'm the first to celebrate, and today we need to celebrate. Here's what my concern is. Israel fought 12 days against Iran in June, a number of months ago, with destroying Iran and didn't finish the job, could have finished the job, and there would have been no need for us to talk about what we're talking about today. But after 12 days, with the United States participating in that last day, the war was brought to an end, and Iran and its regime survived. And it survived because the United States doesn't find this to be a war, an existential war. For Israel, it's an existential war.
Mhm.
Trump has been phenomenal. Secretary of State Rubio has given me every reason to wish that he would be the next president of the United States. But I want to offer this cautionary tone. There was a piece that appeared. I'm going to read just two sentences. It's someone who I would normally not quote. Um, a political commentator from Ariv, quite famous in Israel, calls himself right of center, but he's certainly not. He's very much left of center. He's a major critic of Bibi Netanyahu, has done everything to try and get Bibi ousted. But he wrote this, and I'm going to read only two sentences because it's relevant to the position that I have long purveyed. Here's what he wrote, and this appeared in the Jerusalem Post. He wrote, "Today, Trump is all in, but it won't last long. His patience could run out soon, and that's why our Air Force is operating at an intensity we've never, ever seen before." And he concludes by saying the push by Israel is to compress 12 days of war into 3 and hit as many Iranian launch capabilities as possible before Trump gets tired and signals that it's over. That is what happened before. And as much as I will shower Trump with as much praise as I can, I'm concerned when I watch the news in the United States and the politics. Now, the way American politics works is quite simple, if you allow me to generalize.
Sure.
In national elections, talk about presidential elections, 45% of the country, I'm generalizing, 45% of the country will vote for the Republican. 45% will vote for the Democrat. It's the reason that most presidential elections are always within a margin of error, 2% or what have you. But there's a 10% element there, and those are the independents. And the independents are the ones who basically will throw the election one way or the other. The United States has midterm elections coming up in a number of months, in November. Israel has its elections before October. Well, I should say before the end of October. Here's what my concern is, that Susie Wild, who helps set the Trump agenda, and other people in the United States supportive of Trump are going to say, okay, enough. And the enough is going to come before the job is done. The independents aren't as enthusiastic. The Democrats are completely against this war. And we've heard the real anti-Semites on the left and the far right who basically said that the United States has been coerced by Israel to fight Israel's war, which is absolute nonsense. This is as much America's war as any war that America's fought, certainly since World War II. But the point that I want to make is this, that the United States or the Trump administration has to understand that the polls are going to begin to show that the people in America are tired, and we need to finish the job as quickly and as readily as we can, because the polls in America as of this morning showed 90% of the Republicans in favor of what Trump is doing, whereas almost the opposite of the Democrats, 90% plus are against it, and with the independents, at least the polls that I've seen, aren't very happy with it. If Trump and the Republicans are going to win the midterms, which he must win, which we must win for him, in order for him, forget the impeachment nonsense that's going to happen. If we lose Congress, we lose the power of the purse. So it's absolutely important that Trump not only win big, and then declare the victory, let Israel clean the pieces. I think you could probably, because we spoke off camera, you'll speak about the Kurds, whatever, but I think it's absolutely important that this victory, as we have it today, I mean, we've got victory right now. We can't let the political voices turn this victory into what they pretend will be a defeat. And you have to understand the American mentality. Whereas 416,000 Americans died fighting World War II, and it was considered a very noble fight, a very moral fight. When the first 3 Americans died a couple of days ago, all of a sudden you had people who were otherwise supportive of the Trump administration saying, oh my, 3, mind you, 3. That same day in West Virginia, we had 4 people die in an auto accident. Not to suggest that the 3 lives aren't valuable. They're incredibly valuable. but to change a foreign policy based on the fact that some editorial comment came out and said, see, American soldiers are dying for Israel, which is a scandalous canard. We have to be careful. It's going to happen, and it's happening more each day. But again, the celebratory nature that I have and that you have, and we should all have, we who love America and we who love and support Israel. This was a glorious, glorious past 6 days. Phenomenal.
If somebody would have taken out Hitler before the Holocaust,
Right.
6 million Jews would be alive.
That's exactly right. And for those people who say, well, why are we killing? We don't know who's going to take over in the regime. And you and I have shared this discussion before. Well, no one said, let's not kill Hitler because Himmler might be worse. And let's not kill Himmler because Eichmann might be worse. You do what you need to do. You eradicate evil. And God bless Donald Trump. God bless him. That's exactly what he's doing right now.
Amen. 100%. There's absolutely no question about it. Now, there's another element going on right now in this war that I've read lots of reports coming out, especially today, that the U.S. and possibly Israel as well are arming the Kurds from Iraq, and they're coming into Iran to do battle against the regime, the Islamic regime there. So, and the population of the Kurds in Iran is something like around 10%, or it varies, around 10 million of them, could be 12 million.
Right.
I've had Martin Sherman on the show before, and he was talking about that the future, what needs to be done is that ultimately Iran should be divided. That there could be a Kurdistan, and there could be various other states there, and apparently the Persians. I've been reading that they represent, I think, 50%, something like that, anyways, of the overall population there in Iran. So, I mean, he was talking about that the way that Yugoslavia was divided up. We'll see what happens, but what do you have to say about that the Kurds are going to be entering into this? This could be like very interesting what's going on.
The Kurds have been too long ignored and also victimized. The Kurds, I think that's the second largest population of Kurds anywhere. The largest population of Kurds, twice the size of what we have in Iran, is in Turkey. And Turkey is a country which has subjugated its Kurdish population for too long. And by the way, that's a footnote that we cannot ignore before we close today. And that is with Iran being completely destroyed, certainly its leadership decapitated and such. And we hope that this ends the way that it ought to end, which is that there'll be a regime which will be somewhat more intimidated than the previous was, because they weren't intimidated by all these empty threats made by every single previous American president since 1979, and this is the first one who's actually acted on it. So that's a wonderful thing. The Kurds need to be allowed, and I hope the United States does nothing to throw a stick into those folks. They need to go into Iran and do as much damage and take as much of their rightful part of Iran. What we do have left on the table are two issues which we don't talk about today, and we won't, time won't allow, is that Turkey now becomes, the Turks on the one hand always pretended that they were somewhat tolerant of the Iranians and what they were doing, and yet the two of them were always competing to see who would be the leader of the Muslim world. The caliphate was going to come from either one, each thought. Well, the Turks will now soon. In fact, one could actually say today, with Purim, they are the largest menace that Israel will face. There's no question about it. And they're the ones who are doing exactly what the Iranians try to do, which is to surround Israel. The Turks, of course, supporting Hamas, the Turks in Syria, the Turks are everywhere, and they are a danger. The problem is, whereas Donald Trump recognizes that Iran was an absolute menace to Western society and to the whole geostrategic structure of the Western world and its defense, he doesn't understand that the Turks are as well. So much so that he was actually going to sell them the F-35s until he found out that the Soviets, look where I am, that the Russians were still supplying the Turks. And anyhow, that's a problem. So, and Gaza is not over. Trump still is misdirected when it comes to Gaza if he thinks peace can be there. A final comment that I just want to make. When someone said, they talk about, I'm going to be doing a radio show this Sunday, I'm going to talk about it. We keep hearing the opponents of Trump's war talking about the forever wars, or these, they call them the endless wars. And there are two comments, two sides of the same coin that I would talk about when it comes to endless wars. There's been an endless war that's been fought since 1979, and that is the Iran, its regime against America and the West. That's an endless war, and where were the protesters then? And the other comment was, the endless war is actually much older than 1979. The endless war was one launched by Islam 1400 years ago against Western culture. Why don't we see the protest, the endless, let's stop endless wars. Yes, let's stop the endless wars. And the endless wars that I'm referring to is the one that has been launched, and sadly, quite successfully, against the West. Final comment. I saw a cartoon. I think it was a Bronco cartoon. It was a great one, and it showed some wild, mind you, it's a cartoon, some wild, crazy leftist college student, whatever, on the American campus, holding up a sign that says "Free Palestine."
Yeah. And
the box right next to it, they're holding up a sign that says "Do not free Iran." This is the madness that still prevails, and we've got to be careful.
100%. But on a closing remark, because we're at that point right now, just a moment. Let me just say that there's approximately 15 million Jews in the world, and about 8 million live in Israel, give or take, maybe a little more. But there's approximately 2 billion Muslims in the world. And the greater majority of them hate Israel and want Israel destroyed. Israel's doing a pretty good job. The Jewish people are doing a pretty good job. And, I remember reading Life magazine, the leader of the PFLP, George Habash, where he was quoted that after the 6-Day War, the humiliation, well, you know what, we're going to continue to, the Jewish people are proud to humiliate the absolute vicious Jew haters that exist in the world. And after the Holocaust, for anyone like a George Habash or any of these organizations to still wish that and relish to try to murder Jews is so backwards and twisted. You should always feel humiliated, and we take joy in that. And as it's Purim, Chag Sameach. May all the enemies of the Jewish people be eradicated. And we started with Khomeini, and there's many more.
Right.
Mayor, last sentence. Go ahead before we sign off.
My last sentence is, I'm a very happy camper. I'm quick to criticize Donald Trump when he does something which I think is injurious to the best interest of Israel. And I'm the first to say God bless him for what we're doing right now. Purim is just a day or two behind us, and the joy is in the air everywhere. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. Chag Sameach. And possibly we'll take it up again tomorrow evening to, the news is happening quickly, and these are historic times, and these are amazing times. Thank you very much, Mayor, for joining me. Chag Sameach. Everyone, please share this on whatever platform you use on social media. Thank you very much.
Thank you.